We're heading out to meet the National Geographic team as well as the independent investigations group at the Salton Sea to do this historic test to see the shape of the Earth. Through the Mojave Desert in California, one of the hottest places on Earth, going past the windmills and the Palm Desert on the way to the Salton Sea. We're with News of the World and the We Got You Media team.
Okay, we'll have to figure out where there is something. There's not much out here. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's probably the perfect place to do this experiment.
And we are going to see if the Earth is in fact flat or a globe.
Do you have water? Do you have anything there so you don't die?
No, I only got 2 bottles of water, so when we go over wherever the hotel or we find a town or something, I went through Mecca. Mecca is the name of the town that's closest.
So what is this on the right side? I know on the left we have grapes and stuff, but what is this?
I want to try a grape.
Go pick it up.
Look at that.
Damn.
Maybe they're limes.
Well, why did they spray it
so
like
green.
this?
Yeah, that is nice. And that now I can say that I got to pick grapes.
Don't put it in your mouth.
Yeah, no, this is I don't know.
Don't wipe your face neither. All right, we on our adventure. Let's do this.
I had 3 grapes. Let's hope I don't get sick later.
All right, let's go.
No one available to please draw payments here. How do you mean? I have $20.
The Salton Sea is a very unique environment. As the waters have receded over time, the salinity has gone way up, and you can smell that salinity. You can smell the salt in the air. It's very toxic to the fish, and you have massive die-offs, and therefore you smell a lot of death, a lot of dead fish. It's a very bleak, disgusting smell. It permeates the air, salt and dead fish.
Oh my God, it stinks here. Oof. We take this and we see what's up. Man, it smells really bad.
Okay, let's go.
In the early part of the 20th century, in the Owens Valley, there was farming, and people decided that it would be a good idea to try to divert a little water into the Owens Valley to irrigate the crops. Unfortunately, something happened and a dam broke and water started flooding into the area of the Salton Sea. It was never abated, and the water continued to rise until the Salton Sea that's created here, that you can see here, was created. It used to actually be much higher, but over time, when they finally stopped the water flowing from the Colorado River into the Salton Sea, the sun has simply started to evaporate it, and so over the last few decades, the water has evaporated away and the levels have gotten much lower. Because the water evaporates away and leaches salt out of the soil, the salinity in this lake is higher than that of the ocean. It's so high, in fact, that it kills off fish by the hundreds. There's mass dyings regularly of fish that are in the sea, and yet fish do still survive as is evidenced by seabirds that we can see diving into the water and pulling fish out. Members of the IIG met with the Facebook group, the Flat Earth Globe and Discussion Group, who contends that the Earth is in fact flat and not a globe.
So let's just do the fill part first. This is 300 cubic feet of helium. It's under, I think, 2,200 pounds of pressure per square inch. Since that comes out of here at 2,200 pounds per square inch, that's a little bit too violent for our balloon, which I will show you in a minute. So we bought this handy balloon inflator.
We devised 3 tests to do that day, one of which we were unable to accomplish because of unable to get the proper equipment. It was to be a laser test over distance. The second test, we were going to raise a target consisting of 2 helium balloons, which were going to pull into the sky a large reflective
inflated,
banner
this is 8 feet across.
that would
And
be
this thing
seen
holds
across a distance of 10
about
miles.
286 out of the 300 cubic square feet of helium.
At full capacity.
At full capacity. So it doesn't have to go all the way to 8 feet, but let's get it to like at least 6 feet. Because we need all that lift.
Our wingspan.
Yeah, so do it to your, like John's wingspan or anyone who's about 6 feet tall.
Can I suggest?
So you're gonna go to the balloon area and drop all this
John's
stuff
gonna
off?
take the truck to the balloon area
Oh,
and stay
okay.
with it.
Okay. So
So
you
you'll
aren't-
have all-
You are not gonna be at the balloon area at
I
all?
will not be at the balloon area.
Yeah,
That's
we-
part of the reason why we're having this right
Alright.
here.
Once we split, we're split because nobody's going to be. We don't
Gotcha.
have time to go.
So this is bird netting. The just pull it up a little bit so you can see like what the hole size is. So these pipes will fit through these things, and you can like sew it through, and this thing will hold on to that just fine. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to take this Mylar. This is a 100-foot roll of Mylar. It's very thin and very light and very shiny. And we're going to cut strips that will fit through this webbing. Measuring tape. So we will zip tie this onto the top, and as the thing goes up, it'll give us an automatic reading of its top and top altitude. The first thing we're going to do is let it go up, 30 feet up in the air so we can spot it on the other shore. Once we get all the cameras and telescopes and everything pointed at it, then we can pull it back down now this thing is 25 feet tall before it even leaves the ground. It's 25 feet of netting only. So it's going to be 25 feet just before you actually, launch it.
The third test was to be a colorful flag we painted with 1-foot stripe with 6 horizontal stripes across the flag. The bottom stripe being red, then white, then black, then another white, then another red stripe. As we took a boat out onto the water, those stripes should disappear with distance based on the fact that the Earth is round, and those colors would then fall over the horizon and disappear slowly over time with distance. If the Earth were flat, the entirety of the flag should remain visible at any distance. Well, we arrived at the hotel by the Salton Sea, and as the sun goes down, the wind picks up because the temperature changes so drastically. We're out here in the parking lot with a large fishing net, and inside the fishing net we're putting an extremely large reflective banner made of mylar, and this is going to be the target that we're going to look at tomorrow across the Salton Sea. But today we're testing it, and we're going to inflate helium balloons to see if we can make the entire target rise up and to see if the thing will fly.
How are we doing? Good. All right. How many more do you have to go?
Until this thing is done, I'll just keep cutting. We'll help make it visible.
All right. So can you tell me a little bit about your channel, your podcast?
Oh yeah, so the show's called Oh No, Ross and Carrie. My friend Carrie and I'm the Ross half. We join various religious groups, undergo alternative medical treatments. We try out anything to do with fringe science or anything that's not a settled scientific matter. We try it out firsthand, and then we report on what happens. We let people know what happens if you show up, if you ask questions, when do they ask for money, all of those things. And we try to have a good time with it and make some friends along the way.
Well, I'm an engineer by profession, and have a pretty good background in physics and optics, and do a lot of photography and so forth. I've been a member of the IIG for about 16 years or so, I guess. And I'm actually, I think, the oldest member here, other than Jim himself, who started the group in around 2000.
This is some kind of Cirque du Soleil performance.
Hi, I'm Stormy.
Stormy. Stormy, what are you doing here today?
Just kind of watching the technical aspects of this and looking for any obvious missteps, or trying to understand their process and make sure that it agrees with the what their written process is.
Definitely a project.
We're testing to see if water curves around a globe.
We use today not only creation, but also
Flat earthers say water always stays flat and never curves. That's really the essence of the test. We have a lot of prominent members in the flat earth community. We have Nathan Thompson and Mark Sargent, and another guy we believe named Jaron, who does a lot of flat earth videos. So that's who's going to join us tomorrow from the flat earth camp. We have all of the IIT members here, and we're all helping try to put this target together.
The idea is that the part we just put together, that main band, is going to be really visible from the other side, because the sun's going to be coming up behind us on the observation side, hopefully, hitting back and reflecting, and then we'll try to put more mylar through the rest of this net tomorrow. This is a pre-test we did out in Malibu, and I'm zooming in 2 miles here.
Okay.
So we're zooming, and you're starting to see this orange target here. That's just a 2-foot wide card that someone was holding, and then Jim's holding this mirror.
Yeah.
So essentially we want something that's going to be, even at 25 feet, at our distance, is going to be about twice the apparent size of that.
Right.
So it's still going to be small, even though this thing is huge.
Yeah, but still visible.
But still visible,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
great.
So that's
Like
the idea.
Okay.
we're shopping for some more equipment
Oh,
Power
original
inverter.
Thomas, yeah, restaurant. Okay.
so that we don't get stuck without the batteries, you know?
Here it is at slightly after 7 a.m. on the east side of the Salton Sea in the parking lot. Lots of people are arriving for this test. We have the Independent Investigations Group, Jim Underdown, we have Ross Blotcher, his son Andrew.
Good morning.
How are we doing today?
Good. Okay, we're gonna do a shot here, but good to see you. You made it out.
I did. We did.
You did. You all did.
several other members of the IIG, Spencer Marks, and we have News of the World with the We Got You media team.
There you go. 5 a.m. and we're signing a release with National Geographic.
And National Geographic Explorer is on hand to do a segment for their show. We have a local news team from one of the TV stations and members of the Flat Earth. Here we are on the west side of the Salton Sea. This side is where we're going to launch the balloons, the test targets. Here you can see the IIG members Dave Richards and Jim Newman preparing the balloon and the test target with the We Got You media team member Scott Lund. And it's very, very breezy still out here. It's very early in the morning on the Salton Sea. It's just past 7 a.m. It was actually a member of the Flat Earth movement that saw the target first on the west shore, and once he confirmed where to point our telescopes and our cameras, we were able to figure out exactly where to see the target rise above the horizon. The Flat Earth member, ironically, had a better viewpoint 20 feet up the berm because he could look over the curvature of the Earth, something we couldn't do standing at the shoreline. Once we knew where to look, we gave the signal for the people on the west shore to raise the target, and sure enough, it took about 40 feet of cable before we could actually see the target, before it came into view above the horizon, which was hidden behind the curvature of the Earth.
But in the meantime, you are watching all the preparation. We are on the northeast side of the sea, and right now there's a boat being inflated, and they do a little preparation. Right here to the right, we have a flag with several colors. So the flag is going to be mounted to the boat, and in the release time, the boat is going to go from practically from the east to the west side. So we're going to be able to tell other areas around the flat if you see from far away a straight stripe, or actually those stripes starting to disappear. So this is the philosophy behind the scientific experience here. It's a lot of people, it's a lot of fun. Everybody slept probably 3 hours. Park guard is here with the dog. It's really amazing. So right here you're going to be watching the boat taking off. And remember it, this is something really amazing. This is going worldwide right now.
On the boat out at the Salton Sea, there were 3 occupants: Spencer Marks from the Independent Investigations Group, the boat owner himself, and one of the members from the Flat Earth group. It was very, very hot on the sea, and we used the flag as covering to shield ourselves from the sun. The boat had a small motor, but it only went about 3 miles an hour, and since we had to go 3 miles out on the Salton Sea, it was going to take a full hour to get out there. Nobody really boats on the Salton Sea anymore, and in fact that day, as far as we could see, we were the only boat on the Salton Sea. It was a very strange and eerie feeling to be the only person on the largest lake in the state of California. We did not see any fish or any wildlife. We went out to a mile, looked at our position using a GPS, called the shore and let them know of our position so they could record us on video. The experience of being the only boat visible on the largest lake in California is quite eerie. You realize that if this inflatable boat were to sink, there'd be nobody to come for rescue for quite a while until the people on the shore realized you weren't coming back. We thought about that, we spoke about that, and it was a little terrifying. People, the 3 of us on the boat wondered what would happen if the dinghy sank, and realized the people on the shore were not watching us the entire time, it might take quite a while for rescue to come. The good news would be that the salinity would keep us afloat for quite a while, and the temperature was no problem, as it was very, very hot at the Salton Sea.
Oh, this is great. People are just loving it. They do. They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's fun. And everybody's getting along, which is also a good thing.
Yeah. And you know what? Everybody does different things. Like we do live streaming. Then you have this other guy. He shoots like the black and white film. Then, of course, National Geographic, they do their. It's so cool. Like everybody, this can be a really great thing if you really put it together.
Yeah. People coming together
Oh yeah.
in a hands across the water sort of way, so to speak.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
So we're gonna come back.
Okay.
Actually, we do interviews
Okay, I just want to spend a little bit of time getting the boat kind of ready, kind of thing.
Yeah, over there. Like,
Okay.
discovery.
Got it. Okay, next to the river.
You got it. Thanks.
Did you want to mention the crunchy sound that we're walking on
Yeah.
is completely fish bones?
Are you
I'm
serious?
serious. That's all fish bones.
Oh wow.
The millions of fish.
This is crazy.
This is
Yeah. Wow.
I've never seen
Fudge.
this is all it's all fish bone, not sand.
This is amazing. Like even listen, wow, $100. Dave, you are absolutely amazing. I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. He's like, we took this project on and you jump right with us. So, you know, $100, that's a lot of money at this point. You know, hotel room is over $100, food, gas, we drove here 2 cars. So thank you so much, we appreciate it. Love you, Dave. Right now, I'm gonna see if I can pull up somebody for interview, so stay tuned, we'll be right with you.
We finally were able to determine where our compatriots on the west shore were, and we gave them the signal to go ahead and raise the test target and the balloons. When they did so, and we were finally able to see them from the flatness of the shoreline, we asked them how high up their measuring tape told them the balloon was. As predicted, the balloon had to be about 40 feet up in the air before we could see it from the east shore. This indicates that the Earth is in fact round because at 10 miles, the predicted curvature would hide an object about 36 feet behind the curve of the Earth. So at 40 feet, we were just able to see our large reflective banner. The breeze is blowing so briskly that it's causing real havoc with these balloons. So we're afraid they're going to pop, and we're also afraid that the test target will not go straight up. And if it's not going straight up, then it's going to screw up our measurements because we're trying to measure from the ground, and anything off angle is going to add to those dimensions, add to those foot markings. So it's not going to be a very accurate test unless this wind dies down a little bit.
Yeah, so far everything's going okay. No disasters. I'm going to give the balloon team a call here pretty soon, and hopefully that's working out okay. So, one thing at a time, and we'll see where we are in another hour.
Oh, this is great.
Nice.
People are just loving it. They do. They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's fun. And everybody's getting along, which is also a good thing.
Yeah. And different things. Like we do live streaming. Then you have this other guy. He shoots like the black and white film. Then of course National Geographic, they do their. It's so cool. Like everybody, this can be a really great thing if you really put it together.
Yeah. People coming together
Oh yeah.
in a hands across the water sort of way, so to speak.
The Salton Sea is very unique because as the waters receded over the many decades, it revealed a very unique shoreline. The sands here aren't exactly sands like you would find on ocean beaches, but these are broken down animal shells and remnants of bone. These things have not quite ground down yet to sand size. They're still very rough and large shaped. This is a very interesting indication of how things happen over years. So in another 1,000 years, these shells would probably all be broken down into a fine white sand.
This is salt. It's all fish bone, not sand.
In the early part of the 20th century, in the Owens Valley, there was farming, and people decided that it would be a good idea to try to divert a little water into the Owens Valley to irrigate the crops. Unfortunately, something happened and a dam broke and water started flooding into the area of the Salton Sea. And it was never abated, and the water continued to rise until the Salton Sea that's created here, that you can see here, was created. It used to actually be much higher, but over time, when they finally stopped the water flowing from the Colorado River into the Salton Sea, the sun has simply started to evaporate it, and so over the last few decades, the water has evaporated away and the levels have gotten much lower. Because the water evaporates away and leaches salt out of the soil, the salinity in this lake is higher than that of the ocean. It's so high, in fact, that it kills off fish by the hundreds. There's mass dyings regularly of fish that are in the sea, and yet fish do still survive, as is evidenced by seabirds that we can see diving into the water and pulling fish out.
I don't know what that has to do with it. If this was a flat surface, like flat earthers say water is a flat surface, you should be able to see a person standing on this shore. You should be able to see a person standing on that shore. It's not flat. You can't see that. You can't see anything until it gets 40 or 45 feet up in the air. That's what we just showed, that the balloon has to be up in the air. Everything we're looking at on that shore right now is at least 45 feet above the level of the water.
And yet, you can't explain why we can't see the shoreline down there, which was there an hour ago.
Oh, there's mist. I mean, there's...
That's mist. That's mist. It's gone. It's nothing there. You see a reflection of the water.
No, I can see mist in the water. That's why that's a different color. You don't see... I mean,
Which
there's
is why...
optical obscurations of what, we look at over a distance.
Which is why we do not do this test in warm weather. You never do this test in warm weather. You do it with cold weather. You do it at night.
Well, that's why we're here here first thing in the morning.
Yeah, you didn't start first thing in the morning.
Yeah, it's what time is it right now?
7:30.
Okay, we've been here since 5. That's first thing in the morning.
What's the temperature now versus 5 o'clock? It's 68 degrees.
What does the temperature have to do with the levelness of this
do with
body of water?
everything.
Absolutely.
To do with
Only
The fact
if
that you're
there's an
asking that
inversion
question tells me
and-
you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you know, we know about temperature inversions. There's not a temperature inversion right now. You can come out here
Salton Sea,
365 days. You come and find a day when this isn't the case. There will never be a day from now until eternity when this same visual effect is basically not happening.
Tell you what,
you may find some freak incident where you get a mirage or a temperature inversion or reflection or something, but most of the time we are looking at 30 to 40 feet above the other shore.
Tell you what, agree to disagree, but come back at night with a laser. Maybe we have something to talk about.
In the wintertime.
You're not gonna, so
in
you
the
refuse to come back at night with a laser.
But you guys,
First of all, no civilian is allowed to have a laser that will go
We
across
do.
10 miles.
We've been doing it.
We've been doing it for 3 years.
And hitting a target with it?
Yep.
Okay.
He set a new world
I
record.
would love to see that.
There's
You
videos
do a
online.
video-
Now, we don't have to do the video. We gave them the paper before we came out here.
No, we don't want to see a paper. We
We've
want
got
to
the
see,
video as well.
We want to see
Guinness
your
Book of World Records was there with us, documented the whole thing.
Okay.
World star.
where can it be found on YouTube?
Oh, please. YouTube, the arbiter of all that is
YouTube
true.
is the biggest.
YouTube's the best peer review in the world.
There's
There's no better peer review in the world than
Mankind
YouTube.
has ever known. There's information of all sorts.
That's right.
There's information proving we live on a globe.
The YouTuber Nobel Prize winners is a long list.
So if you put this experiment on YouTube, it's not valid?
Come back with a laser and do
No,
So
I
wait,
would
if you
love
put
to
this
see that.
experiment on
You tell
YouTube,
me
it's
when
not.
you're going to be.
Very open about testing. I mean, he came here today.
Yeah, we
everybody
can-
in his group woke up at 3 a.m. to do this demonstration. So he's obviously
Agreed,
very open
agreed. You know
to
what?
discussing with you guys.
You know what?
and
You
great
know, you're
to be
absolutely
able to
right.
show
You're
you
absolutely right.
guys.
We outnumber about 5 to 1.
Not in the world of science, you don't. You're a tiny, weird minority in the,
you haven't
in
been
the
looking at
world
the
of
numbers,
science.
my friend.
Oh, name me one actual scientist that believes
We
the world
are
is
scientists.
flat.
We don't believe
If
it.
you use
Wait,
the
it's not a
science
belief.
method-
We'll do it.
We'll come back with a laser. If you could hit a target and make sure it's level, I would love to see you hit a target on the other
start
side.
from one
You
shore-
won't do it. I'm predicting right now. You will not do it.
Because
It
we
will not happen.
haven't done it already.
You won't do it again. You didn't show us.
We have the we
This
have the
was
video
your
for you.
experiment.
I don't want to
This
see
was
your
your
video.
experiment.
We came out here and showed you in person. You show us in person.
enough.
Can I ask you a
Same
question?
time.
Fair enough, dude.
Same
It's
time.
fair enough,
I'd like
man.
to ask a question.
Challenge accepted, bro.
Do you guys feel the earth moving?
Oh, come on.
No, hold on.
No,
hold
this
on.
is a huge
I-
part of the
hold on,
argument.
hold on.
When you ride on a train, do you feel it moving?
Are you familiar? That's linear momentum. Yes.
Linear too.
Well, if the earth is rotating, that's angular momentum.
The reason you ever feel any change
At the surface.
Aaron's a physicist, just so you guys know.
So what about the compound of the earth rotating and going around the sun? Why don't, regardless
so-
of whether,
No,
Let's-
because you are moving.
We're
Because
still
there's
going to do
things
the
in your
boat
ear
thing.
that
We'll
level
launch
you out.
pretty soon.
No,
We got our
there's
target
things in
right
your
here.
ear.
We got our target right here. We're still going to do the boat test. What we expect to happen is by the time it gets to be about 3 miles out, you're going to start losing at least one of those horizontal stripes.
The red stripe.
So we're going to keep track of how far we are from shore. We're going to hang, and we want one of your people in the boat with us so you can see that we're just touching the surface of the water. We're not trying to dip it or cheat it or anything. And then we'll face the shore a couple of times, and it'll be a lot easier to see 3 miles than 6 miles. So stay tuned. We'll be back with
How are you
that.
tracking your mileage?
We have an app that, yeah. And I mean, your person is welcome to have a GPS on there too. I mean, GPS works on fundamentals of science too, right? So it's satellite based. And
James, are you glad that everybody came out for this? Or?
I'm glad. I mean, I didn't think I was going to convince anyone because you should be convinced by the massive amount of evidence that already exists in the world. But I'm glad you're here and checking this out in the first place.
so why do you think we can see the actual shore where it meets the water?
It doesn't meet the water.
You can't.
No, you can't.
You don't.
You see.
No,
Yeah, we
you
just
don't.
confirmed that
see
you
the
can't
water.
see that.
Car
That's for
driving,
sure.
Isn't that?
No.
We saw
That's
cars
all-
40
that's-
feet up. We
that's
saw
40
cars going
feet up.
underwater on camera.
It's 20 feet above the
By the
ground
way,
on the
when I was here 3 months ago, and here's another good test, and radio your guys right now. There's massive freight trains that come by here. When you're on that side of the lake, it looks like the freight train is going right on the edge of the water. That freight train's probably at least 40 feet off
Well, you do know
this
about
level.
atmospheric refraction.
Yeah, but Jim, I
Yeah.
just captured
And that's-
a truck on that road, and Jaron said the road is only 20 feet high, and from my level, that should be 50 feet below.
What
So it
level
should-
were you?
It
Even-
depends
foot
on,
off the
I don't know
ground.
where you
Foot
were
off the
looking.
ground. So
I don't know
if
where
that
you're
road
looking.
is 20
Go
feet.
over there and watch a freight train go and tell me that's not riding on the surface of the water. You don't
Well,
see
that could
this
be a-
beach from over there, ever. You see that train track, which is, go look at it now, it's like 35 feet off the surface.
For several months, the IIG has prepared for this test, trying to put together the logistics and the balloons. We had to buy huge canisters of helium. We had to buy the reflective mylar tape, the netting, cables, and all sorts of things, not to mention water and just food supplies for people so that we could feed and water people during the test. The morning and the day before the test, the preparation was intense. We had to put everything out in the parking lot of the hotel. We had to put together the target that we were going to fly. We had to make sure we have the colored striped flag that was going to be taken with a boat across the Salton Sea. We had to have PVC pipe for that flag to support the edges. And basically it was quite an operation to put together all of the logistics involved for doing such a test.
Yeah, we're gonna be here for several hours. And I love to. Did you see actually those two main guys having a discussion? And they almost got into argument. No, they're flat around. So they have some kind of a laser test. I think it was a very interesting statement, also. And so everybody has opinion.
So they've concluded there's a 40-foot wall of
Okay,
water
here, there you
between
go.
us and the balloon.
Watch it.
So I swear that looks like the shore.
It does look like the shore.
We can see cars
All right.
going by.
So I think somebody should go on a boat and surf the 40-foot wall of
Wall
water.
Hold on just a second.
That's a great idea.
Oh.
Kind of
Is
looks
that
like
really
surf
going to
shorts.
be the balloon experiment?
I see a boat marina. I see the reflection of the boat marina in the shore below it.
Yo, let's go watch the boat launch.
There's a ton of distortion from the heat.
But she said it's 10 miles straight across.
There might be, there's a
So
slight...
they're saying there's a 40-foot wall of water in front of us, and we're saying that the atmosphere is distorting the image. So there's going to be... This is day one stuff, though. And then for him to say that it doesn't even matter, or that's not important, or heat,
we're not
we don't even need.
Well,
he
if
said
you
we don't
can't-
even need to take heat into
If
the
the balloon
equation. I was like,
popped,
are
he
you
didn't
kidding
prove
me?
anything. He didn't prove that we couldn't see it from below, so that's not a proper scientific experiment. Done.
Well, it's just not a conclusive.
Well, yeah, you can't
It's
call
not
it
conclusive.
non-scientific because you didn't get
Well, if
the
he's-
exact
but if he
answer.
wants to say-
Well, hold on. I'm just pointing out science is a process, not an answer. So you can't say it's not a scientific experiment because
Okay.
other factors came
I
up.
agree.
That's the only point I'm making.
You're going to assert from this experiment that...
I was only making one
I know,
point.
and I
Make
agree
a
with you.
point.
I hear you.
Okay,
I hear
now
you, and I
we're
agree
moving on
with
to
you.
Another point.
Totally hear you.
Okay.
It's not, because you can't say that the cause is the curve when there's other variables.
But it is
Yeah.
a scientific experiment.
Yeah.
It is an
Just
ex-
Now,
that
see, now
it's
you're
just
raising
not
a separate
It
issue.
depends on what you're going to say.
conclusive.
If you're going to say that proved... That
Can
the
I
Earth is
answer him
curved-
real quick? Sorry, I'm trying to track a lot of different conversation tracks and want to keep things clear. So yeah, you make a good point. You can't say immediately from that the Earth is curved, but I was addressing the point that the experiment itself is sound. I think we all understood what
Absolutely,
we're doing
it's
here.
sound.
So the question is then, how do you interpret the results? And yeah, we had some wiggle factors, and that is the reflection point.
So you
That's
can't
thrown off.
assert anything from this experiment.
Well, we can assert
You can assert some things,
but we
Absolutely.
just,
You could see it from 40...
Let's see if we can grab some flat earth. That's so much fun.
Part of that purpose is to find why we're here, discover why we're here. I think a lot of us are here right now to help reveal these truths and, you know, expose some of the lies. But I think more importantly, it's really helping people see their world with clear eyes. You know, that's all we're really doing. We're not making a bunch of assumptions. We're not, you know, we don't make assumptions.
And you don't force anybody to believe anything anyway. It's like their own choice.
Yeah, just take a look, you know. You can see what you can see, and if you want to form opinions based on what you were taught in school, that's fine. But it's going to come to some point in your life where you really need to like scrutinize your own belief systems and say, well, why do I believe what I believe? And is that really, you know, maybe what I should be believing, or should I even just drop all my beliefs and just allow the mystery to kind of just, you know,
kind of open up.
Exactly, just live in that mystery.
Open up to different opinions, to you know, maybe different projects. Life is short, so we gotta enjoy it, right?
That's right, absolutely.
Well, listen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Still waiting. We still.
No, just in the video. The clear pipes analysis might be a little wrong because of the mirroring effect, so I don't know, but I definitely think it's clear. Right, but isn't it important for you to see, imagine, are you sure the front you said was 20 feet across for sure?
Can you tell us a little bit about IIG?
Yeah, the Independent Investigations Group, I started in 2000. We offer a $100,000 prize for anyone who can prove paranormal ability. No one has won the prize yet. I predict no one will win the prize. And we just investigate things that are extraordinary and weird claims, and we use scientific methods to do that. So that's what we're about.
So right now the internet is not the best, but we're trying to make it better.
The Southern Star Trail.
Well, I mean, the Earth does
because you said
Earth does precess. It wobbles a bit, but it's a very slow wobble.
But we don't see the wobble in the northern pole star.
Yes, we do. It's just over many years. I mean, it's not like a night-to-night basis.
Okay, but we can take one night and record a time lapse of the northern pole star, and it's completely stationary. Just line it up with something on the ground, a tower or fence.
Absolutely.
But if you do the same thing with the time lapse, and I'm just saying, gotta check it out.
Right.
the southern pole star moves 10 to 15 degrees a day. And so it's not completely stationary, and the North Pole Star is super stationary.
This is not what I expected. It's a lot more fun and a lot more interesting than I had anticipated. And it's just kind of cool to get involved in this whole mix.
Scott has his own discoveries going on, so this is why I think you are the perfect person for
Thank
this.
you.
And you know, I'm looking forward to pursue your discoveries. And they are super interesting, and I want you guys to enjoy what we do, and leave us comment, leave us review. What would you like us to do? What would you like to see? And we're here for you. Thank you, Scott, so much. And we see you in a minute. We take a little break right now. Thank you.
There's a spiritual thing that's going on here. It's not just we're not just this kind of meaningless, purposeless ball that's floating through this void of space. You know, we're here purposefully. We have a purpose, and part of that purpose is to find why we're here. You know, discover why we're here. I think a lot of us are here right now to help reveal these truths. And
Perfect. Okay,
good,
so
good.
so what's the story?
Okay, so the idea of that, we have this extra DNA, that it might be alien DNA. Okay. When you touch something and it's hot and you pull away,
Right.
your reaction time is much faster than what can communicate physically from your nerve endings to your brain and back to tell you what to do. What's going on is your body itself, not your brain, is doing that motion. You have a composite intelligence, meaning that the cells of your body by themselves, without talking to your brain, your body is made up of organisms that live independently on your skin. They hold up a the physical mass of your body. These organisms that organize themselves and talk to each other. And they talk to each other in tangible ways. Not just that if you pull back, but light when you sleep. If you black out everything, black out all the windows, these cells will start doing this little process, a very important process of giving you back the health, the nourishment,
rejuvenation, yes.
the rejuvenation that sleep gets you. But if you interrupt it with light, it scatters this. So you can get even less than 6 hours of sleep and feel deeply refreshed as long as you make this pattern every time you go into. That's because these cells that talk to each other are doing this communication with you. You have a collective consciousness that's part of you all the time, that shares. And then there's your tummy that talks to you too, and your heart has a real independent communication to the stuff that is going on in your mind, going on with your bodies, your arms moving, all this stuff. We are a collective consciousness. Alien junk DNA is that the biome, this mass of many different organisms that make up us, communicate. They're not alien, but they are not genetically you. They are you in consciousness. They are you in the collective of your cells.
Okay, that's a very interesting explanation, right? What do you think?
With Zena. Zena is a surfer who surfed all the beaches in California, and she's had some very interesting things. I've been overhearing what she's talked about, and I'd like her to share some of that with us concerning your orientation, what got you started with the flat earth thinking.
Well, the first thing that was very clear to me was observable distances over water. So, like I said, I grew up surfing. I've been surfing since I was 4 years old. And from Santa Monica, Huntington Beach, and San Diego, all beaches in Southern California, you can clearly see Catalina Island on a clear day, which on their model would be impossible to see it from any of those places. And You know, that was really my first, like, hey, it was my eye-opener. I was like, you know, this doesn't really add up. And then I noticed some other little things, like, for example, Venus. You can see Venus off the coast of California every single night of the year. Now, Venus is supposed to be between the Earth and the Sun, but you can see it all night in California. So how is that possible if Venus is between the Earth and the Sun, and if at night the Earth is supposedly facing away from the Sun? You know, there's a lot of things that brought me to it, and the biggest thing is the math. The math does not add up. For anyone who can do basic arithmetic, if you actually try to do the math, it doesn't make sense. So I encourage everybody to do that.
And you've taken a lot of math classes, AP stuff. You went to Waldorf College and everything.
Oh, Waldorf High School, yeah.
Yeah. So you're familiar with science. You've taken a lot of mathematics. So you're familiar with that. And so you're also saying something about keeping an inquiring mind. And I found that very interesting.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, I always believe that you should keep asking questions even if you think you found the answer, because your answer might not be right, or it could be right then, but it could be wrong later on. So, I mean, never stop asking questions, because I've been wrong about other things before, and you need to keep an open mind in this world. If you don't, you're just going to be stuck in your own little bubble, and you're always going to believe the same things, and you're never going to have any personal growth.
And you're saying something about if the powers that be project their model onto you, then they control your mind.
Absolutely. If they are telling you live in a snow globe, right? Your entire life is revolving around the fact that you live in that place. If they control the reality in which you see yourself, they control your reality.
This is almost getting into conceptions of like Plato's cave.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think you were saying something about your grandmother. Did I overhear right? She was a flat earther.
Oh, well, not a flat earther, I would say. She never told me, at least, that she was a flat earther straight out, but she did always question the globe. Always. She never believed that. For my whole life, she always told me that, hey, honey, this globe stuff, that's BS. The globe, it just doesn't make sense.
So you're just sitting down trying to enjoy a bowl of oatmeal, and she's laying this whole trip on you about the shape of the earth. Right?
Yeah, but it made sense when I was little too. She was like, so if I stick water to this ball and spin it around, does it stick to it? And I was like, no, that doesn't make sense, Grandma. And she's just like, well, that's what they say it is. And I'm like, so yeah.
So she kind of like indoctrinated you a little bit, but she also taught you to question and be critical in your thinking.
Definitely. And my parents, they are on the complete opposite side of the argument. They believe in the globe full on. They're pretty stuck on that.
So what do you think? Should we be like one big happy world, or should we be like separate little sovereign state communities?
As sad as it sounds, I don't think this world is capable of being a happy world, because it's carnal. And carnality is not supposed to be all good. Carnality, by its nature, is like, I don't want to say evil, but I mean, there's lots of evil that comes with carnality. So, I mean, okay, I believe I have a soul, right? So in this life, if I don't nourish my soul, at the end, what happens? Is that the end, or do I keep going? Because I believe I keep going. So if I don't nourish my soul, then that means I don't have a soul to, walk around in at the end,
Interesting. I will tell you something philosophical, and I'll see how you respond. Do you know that the ancients, and we're talking about back to the time of Leonardo da Vinci and before, they conceptualized the soul as a perfect sphere?
Interesting. But like you said, they conceptualize, like, it's all, this is what I was talking about the evidence and the proof that a lot of globe earthers, for lack of a better word, believe or give. It's all conceptual. It's all just theoretical. It's all, well, these guys said it could be this, so it must be this. But flat earthers, they do it themselves. They go to the places and look for themselves. They find the real hard evidence. They observe, they test, experiment. It's different than just believing something from a textbook.
And what were your feelings on the tests that were attempted today?
Well, honestly, I think the conditions weren't right. I came a little bit late, so I was not here for the beginning of it. So I don't
Are you
know.
from Los Angeles now?
Yeah.
Come here from
Yeah. Well, I live in the mountains, San Bernardino.
So thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for talking to me. You have some really interesting things to say, and you do give a whole perspective to this. And we're finding that a lot of flat Earth people, or people that are oriented in that, are very questioning, intelligent people that really want to just keep their minds open and want to explore all the possibilities rather than be told some dogma that they have to just take full on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So it wasn't so bad, was it?
Thank you.
Okay. I would like to get a little information, like an email address from you and everything. We'll send that to our producer.
So this test once again confirmed the curvature of the Earth because an object hidden 36 feet below the curvature at 10 miles was what we had predicted. So when the reflective tape was raised to about 40 feet, we could finally see it from the east shore. We recorded this on cameras, we could see it through our telescopes. And yet the members of the Flat Earthers had their own opinions for why this happened.
Did you wear that at the conference? Yeah, that was you.
I even signed it on the cover.
You did really good. Aww. That's a beautiful name. This is a scam. That's awesome.
So, did you guys kind of hear this?
Called the Azimuth
plan?
Week. We're just
Before we all kind of dissipate, we just want to get kind of a portrait shot. It's going to be really.
Once we reached the first, second, and third mile observation points, we turned the boat broadside to the shore, called them on the phone, notified them to take a look through their telescopes and cameras, and as they did so, they photographed and took video to memorialize how much the flag was missing at those distances. We lowered the flag to the edge of the water so that each measurement could be taken identically at each position 1, 2, and 3 miles from shore. We measured our distance from the shore using a GPS application. Once we had arrived at those locations, we took the flag and lowered it to the surface of the Salton Sea. After we arrived back off the Salton Sea, we were wrapping up the day, and we were discussing our findings with various members of the media from National Geographic, the local news team, and News of the World, and We Got You Media. It was during these discussions that the Flat Earth people vehemently disagreed with the findings and, of course, tried to argue that the world was not in fact round. These sorts of tests have been conducted over the last 2,000 years by many of the cultures throughout the world, and every one of them has agreed that the world is in fact a globe. It's very disheartening to hear that there's a group of people in 2018 that still believes the Earth is flat. No amount of evidence seems to convince them that the Earth is in fact a globe, when 100% of the evidence indicates that the Earth is a globe. Even ancient people saw the curvature of the Earth move across the moon during lunar eclipses, and it was a very, very obvious indication that the Earth was a globe. Not only has NASA given us thousands and thousands of pictures from space, but of course, around the world there are at least a dozen space agencies, the Russians, the Chinese, and others. They have all photographed Earth from space. They are all in agreement that the Earth is a globe, and yet the flat Earth people maintain this is a large global conspiracy. Why that global conspiracy would be in place, they have no really good answer for that. The flat earthers maintain that the sun and the moon are not round objects hundreds of thousands or millions of miles away. They maintain they are flat disc-like objects that are very, very close to the Earth, like perhaps 10,000 miles. If this were the case, if you looked at the sun or the moon at an off angle, it would look... What's the word? Just freeze for a second. The flat earthers maintain that the sun and the moon are not round objects thousands or millions of miles away, but rather flat disks that are only a couple of thousand miles away. The problem with that is if it was a round object that was flat and close by, when it was not directly overhead, it wouldn't look round, it would be oval shaped. And you can prove this to yourself by looking up at a can light in a kitchen or a ceiling fixture and then moving away from it 10 or 20 feet, and it does not appear round anymore, it appears oval. That is exactly how the sun and moon would appear, but they don't. They look round from all angles, and that could only be achieved if those objects were in fact spheres, like the Earth.
Told me that there's a circular magnet at the top of the pendulum, and without that circular magnet it won't keep swinging. But they have to push it, and that magnet pulls. And it blew my mind because it's supposed to be evidence that the spinning Earth is causing it, but to know, there's a magnet in there, it's almost like a parlor trick, and it just, my curiosity increased. I think that there are many things that made me further think we don't live on a globe, but the one thing that really sealed it for me is the spinning. Now, the reason we don't feel a spin is supposedly because it's constant. And it's true that we don't feel constant speed. Like if you're on the highway going 60, you don't really feel it once you're at 60. But you do feel it when you get off, or when you get back on, when you accelerate or decelerate. You feel that all your organs kind of push a little, you feel that change. And on a globe, spinning on an axis, you must spin 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. And as you get closer to the poles, you spin close to 0 miles per hour because it's just a smaller track to make one circle in a day. So say for example if you travel from India to England on an airplane, the ground beneath your feet slows down by 400 miles per hour according to the globe model. That might kill us. That should be so dramatic for our bodies, for everything.
Right, yeah, that's exactly
feel that change and adjust to that. And I've never taken that particular trip, but I've taken a lot of plane trips, and I've never felt that change. I've never felt that. And we're not spinning if we can't feel that, because that change must be there. And well,
maybe his excuse with the turbulence, huh?
With the what?
With the turbulence.
The turbulence, right. No, but it's interesting because you do feel, when the plane takes off, you feel that.
but you don't feel a difference if you're flying from the equator to a more taper part of the ball. You should feel it. So it's pretty solid reason, the question. And then there's stuff like this now. I don't know if this experiment's going to work today, but let's see. Yeah, a lot of people are finding they can see too far, though. That's the real reason people are doing these experiments, like out in Hawaii or something. They can see one island to another. People can see further than the curvature tells us. Expected curvature tells us. It's real evidence. So it's really interesting. I think it is, and you know what? Thank you so much for sharing your opinion. I think it's great, because right now we're gonna make everybody else shake the brain. Thank you for asking. You know, it took me about 9 months. When I started looking into it, my mind was like, no, it can't be. It really takes time. At first, you're like, there's just no way, and it takes time to just think about it and explore the ideas. You gotta prove it for yourself. Nobody can tell you. Like, I can't tell you it's not about. Like, you have to be curious and go through your own research. Yeah. And you know, we are very interesting creatures, and the way the way our perception works is different too. You know, or let's say the animals. Yes. There's a lot of things that the animals see and we don't. That's so true. So you really don't know. We don't know what and what really exists. And how our eyes work. There's so much to understand about how our eyes work. Actually, the brain. And the brain and how we perceive information. There's so much, like, our perspective of the world tells us certain things. It's not necessarily the true shape.
So they would know. They're probably there.
We have to remember how our eyes see and how our mind processes what our eyes see. Well, the great thing, we have a choice to believe. And you watching News of the World and We Got You Media. Thank you so much, Sasha. Thank you so much for your opinion. Thank you so much. Thank you for asking. It's so wonderful to ask. That was fun. Thank you. Okay, great. Man, you're hungry.
Oh man, it's been a long day. We've been out in the sun. Time to eat.
Which I'm very
How are you feeling, guys?
Yes, that's you, and this is my way.
Tired, very tired, and hot, and
You don't look tired. Neither do you. He's having
Well, I look fresh as a daisy.
I just have a very strong constitution. That's why I can rough it up. Yeah.
It was fun being with you today. All of you.
How was the boat ride?
It was uneventful. I thought it would be more eventful. I thought that we wouldn't make it back. There was that moment where the motor didn't kind of work, or wouldn't make it out. And then the motor worked, because we have a genius electrical engineering guy. I think figured it out. So it went well. And it was really fun. It was really good company, and we had a great time. We're not going to do it again.
No?
Not soon.
Don't tell me that.
And then the first rays of the sun.
I think we're going to do it every weekend.
All right, next weekend?
Yeah, let's do something.
But you know what?
Stormy.
The experiment was successful to the degree that we
Fantastic, great time, great people. I do hope they do it again every year, and bigger, because I think everybody came out really happy.
Okay, do that.
Show up.
Stand one shoulder, try to wave across.
I'm going to be so in your plate as the makeup's going to get here. Yeah, I'm hungry. I'm so hungry.
Was supposed to be above the surface of the water.
The rest of the food is right there.
She says that they used to measure your pulse here, and now they measure your pulse here, she said.
The artery is right here.
And I said, well, like nothing changed with anatomy, you can still measure here. She's like, no, I can't even feel it on myself anymore. So like, and then when I asked her like who changed reality, she can't point to who it is, like whether it's the government or...
That's basically the Mandela effect.
Right, it's the Mandela effect. But she doesn't interpret the Mandela effect as just being a psychological effect. It's like the world actually changing, and yet her memory being preserved of how the world used to be. And so I asked her, like, well, how could you expect me to ever help validate this or prove this for you. And I was just trying to get her thinking in terms of how could we test this. And I was telling her, feel free anytime you can postmark a letter to us at the IIG or send us an email. We'll hold on to it and gladly, later on vouch. Yeah, she told us beforehand. But to her credit, and this is a fair point, she said, well, I can never predict what they're going to change on me.
I have an answer for you. It's Dr. Google.
It's Dr.
Google, who changed the
Google.
polls, yes. Dr.
All right, well.
They changed mine already.
What do you do with that?
You handled it so well, you didn't let on.
Yeah, but it's not like he is big and
But she would play that, and she'd be like, well, you guys are being so mean to me, and be like, oh, we're trying to bend over backwards to explain this to you. And so then she'd, turn around and say how awful we were being to her, and then she'd turn around, the last thing she said to me before she stole my camera was she put my camera in her car, and I was freaking out, where's my camera? I got it back from her. Anyway, it was a mistake.
Yeah, she would.
She came up to me at one point, she said, I have the perfect argument against the curved earth, and it's your argument. I just don't believe it. She sinks to these horrible, low things, and then she accuses us of doing that. Oh, you're so deceitful. It's so frustrating.
It's funny because experiment that didn't want to believe in the results of the experiment.
No, before the experiment, she didn't want to. She said that. She said it doesn't matter what it shows.
Right. Of course. She's got her mind made up.
But she's not the audience, right? She's a foil.
Say it again?
She's not the audience. She's a foil. She's kind of, we're using this to get out to other people. Maybe get like them to be flatter.
Wait, say this again?
This experiment is not just for her or just for these people.
Oh, yeah,
It's
sure.
for the people that the video goes out to.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what she thinks. But it I guess might stop somebody else from joining.
Yeah.
I don't think they're swayable.
How would people get that? How would they
I wonder because my son, I have one at 25, one 35. 35, he's pretty close to his Gladys's table, and they won't listen. And I think it's kind of their peers. They're going to believe. It's like religion. Some church, that church is the only church, and I think it's kind of the same way. It's become almost, and now since there's debate between the two, it's caught everybody's interest, and now they're going to bring their best in to try to convince people. Because, it's starting to get. It's getting a little more mainstream than it was 2 years ago.
Kind of the last 10 years.
Right. Yeah, it seems to be, and it's almost like all those kind of ideas is almost like a following of something.
Yeah, it's like,
and they're not going to, even if they know, if they go home at night and they just know there's nothing flat, they're not about to, because their friends believe it, and that's part of what my son, his friends, they believe that, and the chemtrails and everything else. And we won't get into it, but it's no. and for me, you go, well, maybe I'm not on that side. Yeah, he is. Of course he is. Yeah. And that's as long as they're happy. That's good.
I feel like they'll never give up believing, a flat Earth because maybe they feel that, oh wow, I know something that everyone else doesn't, so therefore I'm the best person.
It's like 20 years ago.
I think that's
because some feel superior in a way. They don't even realize.
Sydney's got that.
Yeah, something like that.
It could be.
So it could be just a psychological thing.
I think that's a lot of it with the peers and the.
Yeah, look how special I am. I know more than everybody.
all the scientists, all NASA,
Like they may think that, but I know the truth. Like I know what's really going on. So they're just never gonna let go of that. And that's just it's tough to deal with.
and that's why I kind of feel sorry for them. That's great.
Well, that's part of the problem. If you take somebody, it's kind of taking advantage of somebody that maybe don't have the education, and then it goes down, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then when they find out, it's like, no, absolutely, no matter what. Your house is on fire. No, your house is not on fire. Yeah, burn it down. Oh, yeah?
We had a great time. We just
There's that sunk cost fallacy thing where if they've spent too long at it, they don't want to give
It's
it up.
indoctrination, kind of, or a little bit. I think we're all a little brainwashed on different things. This one's a doozy.
Yeah, that too. Like they don't want to even put too much effort into learning this, or go deep into it. It's easy.
Now, the one gentleman that was, he was doing when they have the debate between Ross and, that was interesting. He was like their power hitter, I think. And he was trying to make, what was his name? I forget. Ross. Do you remember the name when you were doing that debate on the beach?
Oh, yeah.
And he seemed like he was the one that was the most vocal of pretty much.
Oh, yeah,
the
the guy with the sunglasses.
Yeah, I
tall guy.
forget his name. Yeah.
I met him before. Shoot, I'm getting a few names in my head, so now I don't trust any of them.
It's like the Mandela effect.
There were a couple Nathans out there. One is
the bearded Nathan and two Nathans.
No, he was the interferometer guy.
The guy with the
kind of
shirt,
smaller guy.
that's a flat shirt.
Yeah, he had the Josh. I think you're right.
Yes, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I met him before, and I stopped him for a long time just to try to talk to him about engaging other people. Like, just talk to him on his style. Like, what you're doing is taking away from honest conversation. It's not how people meet in the middle. We're here to do a test. That's the whole spirit of this, is that we're trying something out collaboratively and together, and what you're doing is constantly throwing out things that are unrelated to this test. We could do that too, but that's not how you actually have a conversation and ever arrive at consensus or in the middle. And so I was trying to keep him on point with that. Yeah, he's difficult. He wasn't terrible though. He liked it.
It was terrible, and you shook hands, but it was still It seemed like it was the one. I think he was maybe the leader of the group or close to it, because I went over and he was the one in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a leader in any sense, but there's also Nathan Thompson. That's a different guy.
He is a leader. He's
definitely.
But this guy is probably his best buddy, because he was the one that didn't mind speaking his mind, like I said, and they kind of
Nathan Thompson is this guy. Are you thinking of that guy?
Nope. No.
Okay, yeah, it was the other guy. Let's see if I can find him. Hold on. Who I think we're talking about. Alright, I think we're talking about the guy in the tall guy in the back with the sunglasses.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's Josh, right? The tall guy in the back with the sunglasses. You're the center.
Oh, no, that guy?
That guy. That's not Josh. Okay. Well then, shoot. What's his name?
I'm not sure.
He repeated it to me today, and I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing is like, well, NASA lies, but I trust everything that you do. As long as I see it on YouTube, it's got to be real.
Yeah, and she told you the one where she'd written for a publication, and she used to like release a regular monthly column. Then they stopped making that magazine, but then she saw it again with a different name, LA Express. But then she saw it as LA Press. But then she went back and it was gone.
Okay.
No way to verify any of these things.
Whether you believe in NASA or a grand conspiracy, whether you believe in ancient texts or modern science, whether you believe the Earth is a globe or a flat plane, we can all agree that the Earth is a beautiful and mysterious place. And it is up to each of us to find our own answers.